Thank you. Good morning. Before I start, I would like to just acknowledge you that I do not believe in coincidence. So the fact that Guilherme, the other Brazilian, did not come had something to do with the fact that I'm going to share with you our experience in this particular issue. I'm here to talk about strategic planning, partnerships, and inclusive cities. Strategic planning. What do we need this for? Why? Why are we interested or concerned as public servants in a strategic planning? There's one word that explains that, and this one word is future. Nobody plans to fail, but a lot of people fail for not planning. And planning, it's only useful and necessary if you look into the future. You don't do planning for today. You have to think about the future, and then you do strategic planning. And I would like to tell a story of my city, and I feel very comfortable about that because I'm not going to talk to you about my experience. I'm going to talk to you about my community, the people that live in the city, and their story and what happened. So strategic planning and how the community got involved in planning, and how we developed the partnerships. My city is in the southern part of Brazil. It's a planned city. It was planned on paper and then built. About 370,000 people, but we'll talk about that later. In 1996, the situation was a little complicated. The state was going through a process of reorienting its economy. A transition period in the state of Paraná, a state where we are located, from a totally agriculture-based economy to a heavy industry-based economy. At that time, a lot of companies from all over the world were coming to Brazil because the country was stable, and automotive industry was looking for places to establish themselves. And the state of Paraná, the provincial government, have created a situation where fiscal incentives were provided, and companies like Renault, Volkswagen, have made a decision to establish themselves in our state. And then the war started. Cities wanted to have the factories, and it was a total mess. And the city of Maringá was in a very difficult economic situation at that time, because most of our jobs came from the textile industry and clothing industry. And the Chinese were creating a lot of problems. So we were losing jobs, we were losing businesses. The situation wasn't really good. So attracting one of those huge companies to our city was important. But we had a problem. Our mayor at that time was in opposition to the governor. So we had the disadvantage of a political situation. And he was not proactive at all. So the community decided to establish a movement called Rethinking Maringá. What are we going to do regarding the Chinese invasion on the textile industry? What are we going to do in terms of being attractive to other companies? Which are the problems we have? Why do we have those problems? What is the origin of our problems? Which ones can we eliminate? Because we cannot eliminate all of them. How do we solve the problems? And which city do we want to live in the future? So what happens is that under the leadership of the Chamber of Commerce, they invited leaders of religious institutions, academic institutions, businesses, lawyers, engineers, all the associations to start developing a mechanism, a movement of rethinking the city. And this went on for 9 months. And 9 months later, they came up with a plan. They had a plan for the next 20 years. And they realized that in order to implement the plan, and this is based on the fact that the future depends on the decisions we make today. So some of those problems would take time to be solved. They couldn't be solved immediately. And someone had to take care of implementing the plan. We needed a driving force behind the idea that the community had. And they decided to create an organization called the CODEM, which is the Economic Development Council for the city of Maringá. This movement involved over 180 organizations and included over 400 city leaders, from priests to university professors, Rotary Club people, so all over the community. And the mission for this organization, which is the council, was to promote sustainable social and economic development articulated through articulated interaction between the organized society and the public sector. That was their commitment. That was the mission. And they organized themselves in a way that they elected a board of about 4 to 5 people. And this board was supposed to keep the flame shining all the time. So they meet every Tuesday, every week, the board. And then every 2 weeks, they meet with the mayor. And every month, they have a plenary session, and they invite everyone, every institution, to discuss things that are related to the future of the city and to make sure that the plans that they have proposed are on track. The strategy that they developed was extremely intelligent. Once they had 180 organizations and the major leaders of the city involved, they decided in 1996, we had elections, and I was running for mayor for the first time. They decided to invite all the candidates to talk to them. Now listen, I'm a politician. If I had the opportunity to be in a room with 180 organizations and a couple of hundred leaders of the community, and they allow me 1 hour to present my proposals, I would jump to this opportunity. Of course, everybody did. So they allocate 1 day for each candidate. But at the end of the meeting, when we finished presenting our proposal, they were very smart. They just came with a paper and they said, look, our community understands that we have a number of projects here, ideas, that we believe are strategic for the future of the community. Would you be willing to sign a commitment here with all of us that you are not going to stop any of these regardless of the political situation, and you are committed to help us push this through? What did you think would happen? All candidates signed the document. And from that day on, in 1996, the community vaccinated all the strategic projects against political discontinuity. That's it. That's what they did. And then last year, we had elections. Just to give an idea, the same council at the Chamber of Commerce, not the City Hall, they invited all the candidates, and all of them are here, to sign and to subscribe the commitment to the Sustainable Cities Act in Brazil. And all of them did. So one thing we know, this administration that just won the elections will be working towards sustainability. So, intelligent way of doing things. And I will give you one example of a project that it's a long-term project. It was very important for the community. Our city grew over the railroad. We had a railroad, and the city grew from the railroad. Of course, when we got to a certain size, the railroad was a problem. There was a conflict between the train and the traffic. And now we have long trains. It takes 25 minutes for this train to pass. So people were losing a lot of time. Instead of changing and moving the railroad from the center of the city to the suburbs, we decided to lower it down. We kept the railroad where it was, right in the middle of the city, but without conflict with the traffic. And you know why? Because then we already have, as you can see, there's one line there, but there's room for another two. We already have all the infrastructure for our future tram and metro whenever we have the size for that. The investment is done. Now, the community thought about it. This took 5 administrations, 5 terms to be finished. And I had the privilege to finish this investment for the community. So this is one example of the project that they were thinking about how to handle. But they went further. They went one step further. Believe it or not, they decided to establish an NGO called Cllr. That stands for Ethically Responsible Society. And the major commitment and mission for this organization is an NGO that is maintained by the private sector. It operates at the Chamber of Commerce office. And the major objective was to teach people, to educate the community to pay taxes. Now, we're talking about the private sector, business, sponsoring and maintaining an NGO that teaches people to pay taxes. Why? Because this is fair competitiveness. Because the projects that they presented needed funding, and the funding comes from taxes. And people that don't pay companies that squeeze around and don't pay taxes, they compete in an unfair way in the market. So they decided to organize this NGO, and this is one example of the things that they do. This is a context of texts and phrases and all sorts of cultural activities that are oriented to educate the children about the importance of paying taxes. And they do it every year. Now, why did they do this besides creating a fair competitiveness environment? Is because once they are recognized by the community and by the public sector as a mechanism to bring money to the city, they went one step further. They said, now that you understand that we are providing funds for the city, we want to make sure that we follow how you spend our money. And they organized another NGO with volunteers, retired people, that follow every single procurement procedure in the city. They are there. They follow up. And they make sure that it's transparent. And this is something that they were doing on their own. So because of their attitude, I decided to establish a much stronger partnership with them. And as a mayor, in Brazil, every city with over 100,000 people, they have to have an internal auditing department. It's a law. So we have to have a department that will check and will organize and will overview how we spend public money. So what I did is I invited this organization, the organized society, to appoint who was going to be heading the department. Because I told them, this is your money. You have the right to appoint the person that will be the internal auditor. And this, of course, strengthened the partnership, because now it's not only talk, now it's action. They are sitting there and, of course, taking care and organizing and overviewing how we spend their money. We also established a mechanism of public consultation. And we do it in let's say, neutral ground, in the middle of the street. We put chairs in a tent in the middle of the street, and we invite people to talk to the mayor for 2 hours in every neighborhood. And they bring their problems. And one thing that we realize is that the normal average citizen, they think short term. They are concerned about their problem, and they want the problem to be solved now, immediately. So most of the people think about short term. Politicians think about medium term, because there's a 4-year term, and then they can be re-elected once, so it's 8 years maximum. But the business community and the academic community think long term. So we had to organize things in a way that we would be harmonized in what we are proposing. So the way of attending the needs and the expectations of the community was for me to go to their place and create what we call citizen territory. And I would talk to them. I would listen to them. I would hear their complaints and their needs. And what we realized is that most of the things they expected were fairly easy to solve. Nothing really complicated. So it was possible to make sure that they felt that their needs were being followed and taken care of, and then we got their support. Another thing that we did is we created whenever we conduct those procurement processes, it's an open room, no doors, and everybody's invited. And at the end of the procurement process, the companies that lost the bid are automatically invited to be on the committee that will check how do we receive the products or services from the one that won. So competitors who understand quite well the business will be part, with our officers, will be part of the process, making sure that whatever we bought is what we are getting. Because unfortunately in our country, we buy things, but we don't get the amount of things we bought and the quality of the things we bought. We paid for it, but we don't get it. Now we invited all the companies that lost the bid to come and make sure that we get the amount, the quantity, and the quality of whatever we bought. And they got involved. This is a partnership. So this is Maringá. It's a planned city, no slums, 34th highest per capita income in Brazil. 95% of the city has basic sanitation. 97% of our streets and roads are paved. 40,000 university students. And this is how one of our primary schools look like. This is a municipal primary school. This is another one. It's a typical primary school in our city. And this is what we have been able to provide to our students. Uniform, school material, and 1 laptop per student. This is what we provide to the community, about 50 open-air academies so that they can take care of their health. Now, in 2008, and I'm just about to finish, the president of the council was the dean of this university. And he thought it was time to review. 10 years have passed to review the plan. And they conducted a movement called Maringá 2030. So thinking about the next 20 years, these people came oriented by a consulting company that was hired by the council to think about the next 20 years and to establish the guidelines for what city we expect for 2030. And this is the document they produced. And on this document, at the end of the document, they have a list of the people who attended with a signature. There were over 200 people. And here, if we go through the list, you will see all the organizations. There is Rotary Club, there's Lions Club, there's the Archbishop, there's the Engineers Association, Lawyers Association, all of them are listed here. They provided the guidelines for what city we want for 2030. The city hall was invited. We were not conducting the meeting. We were invited to attend the meeting. And at the end, they did the same thing. 2008, we had elections for mayor. They presented this document to all candidates and go through the same process. This is what we want for the next 20 years. Some of the things that we expect to get in 20 years' time have to start now. Decisions have to be made now. Are you interested? Are you committed to doing this? And they asked all the candidates. And of course, everybody signed the document. So, as a consequence, we now have our municipal airport. This airport belongs and it's operated by the city, and it's internationalized for cargo. And this was our movement. It was part of the 2030 document. They wanted the airport to be a tool for the development, economic development of the area. And now, I just would like to share with you our dream for 2030. This area here was the old airport, which is now in the middle of the city. So it's an open area. And this is where we want to build our new civic center. It's a totally different urban planning mechanism and architecture. It's totally different from the rest of the city. This is how it looks like. This is our dream. And it's already becoming true. Now, this is possible because of strategic planning, because of partnership, strong partnership with the community. And this turns the community inclusive because they feel as part of the process. Everybody is included. So this is it. Our city is only 65 years old, but we have 270,000 happy people. Our GDP has been growing over 11% since 2009. And just to give you an idea, the growth for the GDP growth in Brazil is less than 5%. The per capita GDP is $11,500 per person. Is the safest intermediary city in Brazil. Is the country's most innovative city. And this title was given by Intel and Microsoft, not by the city. It's a contest that Intel and Microsoft sponsor in the country on how to use IT for providing public services. Public, not private, public services. Is the best fiscal management in the state of Paraná and the 8th best in Brazil. Lowest rate of payment default and 0 unemployment. So I would like to, I think what I have shown you can be replicated in any city. You know why? Because I am 100% sure that in your cities you can find 10, 15 men or women that are fully committed and dedicated to the future of your community. I am sure these people exist. Putting them together, it's the beginning. It's the start process. When you make bread, you need that powder that makes the bread big. How do you call that? Yeah, yeast. That's all we need. A little bit of yeast. These kind of people can influence the whole community. And I know in every city that is represented here, you have those people. I would like to finalize my comments by sharing with you an African proverb that summarizes very well what we are doing here, this meeting. I just read this proverb on the wall of the Joburg airport at the gateway when I came to Durban. This is written very big in the wall. If you want to go fast, go along. But if you want to go far, you should go together. Fast and far. Sustainability has nothing to do with fast. Has everything to do with far. So this is what we're doing here. Different species, Brazilians, Africans, but we should go together. And we'll get there. Thank you.